She's more adorable than you, and makes me want to protect her. You know, men are creatures who want to protect the weaker sex, right?
These were the smug words of my husband Dylan, when I confronted him about his affair that I had unfortunately witnessed. He kept making excuses, eventually brazenly admitting it. How could I possibly agree with him? There was no way I could nod in approval. Moreover, he had no intention of divorcing me or breaking up with his mistress. A marriage like this, with such a man, was unsustainable. I packed my bags and went back to my parents' house, pouring out my frustrations to my brother Chester. After listening to my story, Chester showed a broad smile.
I see. Well, that's great.
Great? About what? I yelled at him in disbelief. My brother's first reaction to hearing about my husband's affair was to say it was great. But Chester's smile never wavered, and I noticed a deep anger in his eyes, not matching his smile. I'm Lily, 31 years old. Dylan and I were colleagues at the same company. Since joining the company, we had consulted and supported each other in our work, becoming close friends capable of discussing anything. We went out for drinks together, gradually sharing not just work matters but personal ones too, deepening our bond. A few months later, after a company drinking party, Dylan confessed to me. He was bright, sociable, incredibly kind, and easy to talk to. I was attracted to him, so I didn't hesitate to say yes, and we started dating. While dating, we continued to consult each other about work and would go out for meals after work. Our relationship progressed smoothly. Both of us loved exploring different sceneries, so we often traveled on weekends and even went on overseas trips during long holidays. Spending more and more time with Dylan, I grew deeply attracted to him and eventually realized I wanted to be with him forever. During our 5th year at the company, Dylan proposed to me, surprisingly. In a fancy restaurant's private room, opening the ring box, I remember I couldn't stop crying with joy. There was no reason to refuse, and I accepted his proposal without hesitation. We both loved scenic views, especially those of the ocean, where we had many memories, so we decided to have our wedding at a place with a view of the sea. Blessed with good weather, it was the best day. I loved my job and enjoyed discussing work with Dylan, so I intended to continue working at the same place even after we got married. However, working in the same environment as a couple became challenging, and I ended up transferring to a different branch, though my job duties didn't change much. 3 years into our marriage, we were still living happily as a couple. We would dine out a few times a month and go on trips several times a year. My relationship with Dylan's parents was also good, and we were leading a happy married life. To outsiders, we must have seemed like the perfect couple, and I felt the same. But that sentiment only lasted until this day. One day, with the next day being a day off, I had planned a leisurely dinner out with Dylan after work as usual. However, once my work was winding down, I received a message from Dylan.
Sorry, I got invited to dinner by a client tonight. They've been really good to us recently, and I couldn't say no, so I can't make it to our dinner,
he said. I felt lonely, but responded, Okay, can't be helped. I was really looking forward to the restaurant we picked, so let's go another day.
Sure, I'll make it up to you. I'll be late tonight, so go ahead and sleep. Bye,
he said. As I was getting ready to leave work, my phone rang. It was my friend Sharon. Hello. Hey Lily, are you free tonight? Want to catch up over drinks? Perfect timing. Dylan just bailed on me for a client dinner, so I'm unexpectedly free. Sharon is my best friend. We're colleagues at the same company, though she works in a different department now. She gave a speech at my wedding and sometimes comes over to our house. Since she and Dylan were also batchmates and drinking buddies, we've hung out together several times, and it's always fun when the three of us meet. Like today, she would call me out of the blue, and we'd catch up over drinks whenever we could. We decided to meet at the nearest station to my house, so I left the office and headed there. I arrived quite early thanks to a timely train, but Sharon was already there waiting. Sorry to keep you waiting. No worries, I just got here myself. After exchanging a few words, we headed to the restaurant together. On the way home from the nearest station, there's a fairly large bustling district. We entered a restaurant just off the main street of this district. Raising our beers for a toast, we started with the usual updates. How have you been lately? Is Dylan doing well? Yeah, he's fine. Business as usual, I guess. Work has settled down a bit, so we're not as crazily busy. How about you, Sharon? Were you working around here today? Yes, exactly. This area is part of my territory, so I come here occasionally. On the contrary, I've been swamped with clients this month. I'm totally exhausted. At this rate, no guy will come near me. Sharon is the quintessential career woman. Attractive and stylish, but her straightforward personality and strong will seem to keep men at bay. After sharing our stories and motivating each other to keep going, we left the restaurant in the same enjoyable mood as always. The bustling area has such great atmosphere. Mind if we take a slow walk back to the station? Upon hearing Sharon's words, sure, let's walk off the alcohol a bit. I'll walk you to the station. So we decided to stroll through the busy streets on our way to the station. The conversation continued as we walked. Lily, you're lucky. You've got a great husband, and it seems like your married life is going well. Have you guys started thinking about having kids?
Well, we really don't talk about it much. We both love our jobs, and I worry about work being affected if I get pregnant. We're thinking someday, but it's hard to find the right timing. As we were talking and walking, a certain restaurant came into view. It was the place where Dylan and I were supposed to dine tonight. The beautiful restaurant had glass walls, revealing a dimly lit interior. The orange chandeliers inside seemed deliberately set to a subdued brightness. Just as I was thinking that I'd like to visit this place next time, I saw a familiar figure. I stopped in my tracks.
What's wrong?
Unable to answer Sharon, my gaze was fixed on the restaurant. It was Dylan at a table inside, with a woman sitting across from him. She was younger than me, wearing a revealing outfit. Dylan had said he was dining with a client tonight, but this woman clearly didn't seem like someone from work. They were chatting and laughing together.
Isn't that Dylan? What's going on?
Sharon also noticed Dylan inside. I was too shocked to know what to do. Seeing my state, Sharon spoke up.
Lily, maybe you should confront him and find out what's going on.
Yeah, you're right. I took out my mobile phone from my bag and discreetly photographed Dylan with the unknown woman. As I calmed down, anger began to bubble up inside me. When Sharon and I reached the station,
do you want me to confront him with you? It might be better to have two of us ask Dylan. He might tell the truth.
She offered. Thanks, but it's a family matter. I need to handle this myself. I declined her offer, and we parted ways. On my way home, I struggled to suppress the growing anger and made it back to the house. About an hour after I arrived, Dylan came home. I'm back, he said. Welcome back. How was dinner with your client? Oh, it was tough. They wanted to go to a second place, and they drink a lot, but I think I made a good impression. Right after Dylan finished speaking, I showed him the photo on my mobile phone. Is this your client? She's quite young, and not exactly dressed for a business dinner. Did she change into this outfit to meet you? What? You were following me? Of course not. I was out with Sharon. We just happened to see you on our way back. Is this woman really a client? Which company does she work for to warrant such a fancy restaurant like that? Well, What? Can't you answer? She's not someone you need to hide from me, is she? I'm sorry, Lily. Sorry? Are you cheating on me? Is this woman your mistress? Answer me. Yes, she is. I broke down in tears. Why? Why would you do this? I thought everything was fine. It's your fault, Lily. You're always so busy with work. You take care of the house, but I wanted more attention from you. You're strong and independent, but she's cute and makes me want to protect her. I realized I enjoy being with her more than being with you. I was shocked. Dylan no longer cared for me and clearly preferred his mistress. I wish he had said it was just a one-night stand, or purely physical. It would have been less painful. Unable to stay any longer, I gathered my essentials and left the house. Dragging my carry-on bag, I caught the last train home. The journey to my parents' house felt longer than usual. I don't remember what I thought about on the way. Maybe I was too hurt to think at all. Before I knew it, I was standing in front of my parents' house. I had a key, but since I hadn't called ahead, I rang the doorbell. It was my brother Chester who opened the door. Chester? Hey, long time no see. What brings you here at this hour? Chester is a workaholic. After graduating, he worked for a major corporation for 3 years before starting his own business. His company has been growing steadily, and he now employs dozens of people. He rarely comes home, and even missed my wedding due to an important business meeting. I had heard from my parents that Chester got married a year ago, but since there was no wedding ceremony, I had only briefly greeted his wife, so we didn't have a deep connection. It had been years since I last saw Chester. "Chester, how are you doing? What about Mom and Dad?"
Haha, what am I doing? Well, this is also my home. I finally got a long vacation, so I thought I'd come back and do something nice for Mom and Dad. They've actually gone on a trip right now, using the travel vouchers I gave them. Never thought I'd be the one house-sitting.
His cheerful personality hadn't changed. He might be a bit too carefree, but he's also dynamic. I imagined his employees must find it a comfortable place to work.
So Lily, what brings you here at this time?
I was so surprised to see Chester that I forgot why I'd come back home. "Sorry to drop in like this. I had some trouble at home and needed a place to stay for a while."
Of course, it's fine. Your room is still here. Come on in. Once you're settled, I'll make some coffee and you can tell me all about it.
I felt comforted by Chester's warmth. I decided to take a shower first to freshen up a bit. Though I felt a bit better, I couldn't calm down completely. The anger was still there. When I entered the living room, Chester was watching TV.
Feeling better? I'll make some coffee then.
After he turned off the TV and I sat down, I started telling him about everything that happened today while sipping my coffee. About how my marriage with Dylan had been going well so far, how we had a usual dinner plan, how Dylan canceled on me to dine with a client, the time I spent drinking with Sharon. Then showing him the photo on my mobile phone, I continued. On the way back from drinks, I saw Dylan and this woman at the restaurant we were supposed to go to. I confronted Dylan when he got home, and he admitted he was having an affair with her. He said he found her cuter and felt a need to protect her. I recounted everything through tears. Chester listened intently to my story, looking at the photo on my phone. When I finished, he looked up, and to my surprise, he said something I didn't expect. I thought Chester would comfort me, tell me to leave such a man, stand by my side. But instead, Chester, with a big smile, said,
"Lily, that's great."
I impulsively stood up, slamming the table. "Great? About what?" I said, and retreated to my room. What was great about it? Why did Chester say that? Just thinking about it made me even angrier. I shouldn't have told him. I regretted telling Chester and laid down on the bed. I didn't want to go back to the house where Dylan was, so I stayed at my parents' house. Chester and I didn't talk much after that day. I commuted to work from my parents' house on weekdays, which took twice as long, and I was thinking about how difficult it would be to get divorced and ask for alimony. A week later, on the weekend, I was playing games on my mobile phone and enjoying a relaxed morning, when suddenly the doorbell rang. Who could it be? It was unusual to have visitors, so I headed to the front door. There, standing at the front door, was Dylan, apologizing to Chester. Why? Shouldn't he be apologizing to me instead of Chester? Then I heard Chester's voice.
"Never thought the other guy would be you. I didn't know. I'm really sorry."
Dylan was still apologizing to Chester.
"So Rachel is cuter and more worth protecting than Lily, huh?"
"Rachel? The only Rachel I know is Chester's wife." Confused, I listened as Chester continued.
"Recently, I noticed Rachel acting restless and clearly hiding something from me. Her expression was off when I talked to her. I started suspecting infidelity. I was thinking about hiring a detective, but then Lily came home. It shocked me when Lily showed me a photo of her husband's affair, and the woman in it was Rachel. I was saddened to confirm the affair, but also shocked that the other person was family. You never know what might happen. This makes claiming compensation easier."
I was speechless. Dylan's mistress was Chester's wife, Rachel. The woman Dylan was dining with had heavy makeup, and I hadn't recognized her. It had been a long time since I'd seen Rachel, and she hadn't worn such heavy makeup before.
When Chester contacted me, I realized I had done something terrible. I promised to cut off all contact with Rachel. Please forgive me.
It seems Chester had contacted Dylan about the affair. Chester noticed me standing there.
"Oh, Lily, good timing. Did you hear what we're talking about?"
"Yeah, most of it."
"Great. Now we have information on Dylan and his mistress, Rachel. It'll be easy to claim compensation now. It's good you came home, Lily."
Chester said with a smile. That's what it meant. I finally understood the meaning behind Chester's words a week ago. Why he had said, "That's great." What was Chester's feeling at that time? He had spoken to me, but perhaps those words were also for himself. Thinking about Chester's feelings, I decided to divorce Dylan and claim compensation.
Lily, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I can't afford to pay any compensation.
I ignored Dylan's pleas for help.
I'll contact you with the details later. Be ready,
Chester said, then kicked Dylan out of the house. After that, Chester told Rachel they were divorcing and demanded compensation. Initially, Rachel resisted, but she acquiesced after discussing her affair with Dylan. I also filed for divorce and claimed compensation from Dylan. Having been already confronted by Chester, Dylan complied without resistance. The divorce was finalized when I received a call from my mother-in-law, Mary. Expecting to be scolded, I hesitantly answered, "I'm so sorry for what Dylan did." But she was apologizing. It seemed Dylan had blamed Rachel for the divorce, and Rachel blamed Dylan, leading to their breakup. Mary kept saying, "I'm sorry for my worthless son." She said it over and over again. She even mentioned she had disowned Dylan. Hearing this from my in-laws gave me a sense of closure. Now Dylan was disowned by his parents and left alone without anyone to rely on. I decided to start anew. Though Dylan was sending the compensation money monthly, one day he showed up at my parents' house, asking to reduce the amount.
Please, can you lower the compensation? I've quit my job and have no income.
That's not my problem. Do you understand how I feel after being cheated on? As long as my pain persists, I won't reduce the compensation. Leave now, I said, and sent him away. But he kept coming back week after week, begging to reduce the compensation. The amount won't change no matter how many times you come. If you keep showing up, I'll call the police. I responded calmly. Dylan seemed to think I wouldn't really call the police. His demands escalated from reducing the compensation to stopping payments altogether, and even arrogantly suggesting reconciliation. When I started calling the police in front of him, he changed his tune and left in a hurry. The police advised me not to open the door anymore and to use a monitor-equipped intercom to avoid him. Apparently scared of the police, Dylan began bombarding me with lengthy emails and phone calls. I changed my email and phone number, which finally brought some peace. However, Dylan became a nuisance, showing up at my branch where I worked and trying to contact me through my colleagues. One day, Sharon contacted me. Working near Dylan's department at the head office, Sharon had been keeping a close eye on his current situation. Dylan's divorce from me had become public knowledge due to him enlisting colleagues' help, and his harassment was exposed when people saw him near my house during their commutes. Realizing nobody was on his side, feeling the awkward stares and attitudes, Dylan voluntarily left his job. He struggled to find employment afterward, eventually joining a company that turned out to be notoriously exploitative. Desperate, he even begged for the HR department of his previous company to let him return. But having abandoned all his responsibilities to resign, he found no place there. Rejected and unable to resign again, Dylan was living a hard life, starting work at the crack of dawn and staying until the last train, doing unpaid overtime. Regarding Rachel, she apparently reached out to Chester several times, hoping for reconciliation. However, Chester understood there was no love left. Like Dylan, Rachel had quit her job after her affair became known, sometime after the divorce. "I'll become poor at this rate, so I can't pay the compensation. Can we start over?" She pleaded with Chester. Focusing only on money, Chester realized she was after his wealth. When he refused to reconcile or reduce the amount, Rachel reportedly said she had no savings and couldn't pay, not even a single cent. Chester didn't back down and contacted her parents, who were unaware of the divorce, shocked and apologetic. They paid the compensation on her behalf. Rachel seemed to think this settled everything, but her parents, having only covered the cost temporarily, demanded repayment and were furious. She's now working on her parents' farm, enduring tough labor daily. After all this, Chester and I began communicating more frequently. We share updates on our lives and recent happenings, appreciating the value of family, which we hadn't done much before. Chester is still busy with work, but seems to be enjoying his life. It wasn't easy for me to recover quickly after that. Indeed, the shock of the infidelity and the change in my life circumstances due to the end of my marriage was stressful for me. However, with support from family, supervisors, colleagues, and friends. I've come to see it as a valuable experience. Currently, I'm not thinking about another marriage, and I'm enjoying my single life.